we're going to go from 2025 driver rankings, as current as it gets, to all the way back to kind of my vintage, my kind of play project. One of my favorite things out there is to talk vintage pulling photos. I've been going through and digitizing several of mine, and I've been reaching out to some pullers. And at this point, I've tracked down a gentleman who knows a lot about the photo I sent him, told me exactly when and where it was taken. The driver of the sometimes twin engine, sometimes triple engine mod, called it the Nemisis. We're going to bring on Mr. Ronnie Reed to join us in pulling through the past. Ronnie, how are you this evening, sir?
Well, I think I'm pretty good. Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the show. I'm going to have you do one thing for us before we go on. I'm assuming you're on your phone. If you don't mind taking your phone, turning it sideways, it's going to fill the screen for us and let the internet get a good, there we go. Absolutely perfect. So this is the portion of the show, and I don't know if you've watched much of Let's Grow Pulling or seen much out there, but I launch a portion that I called Pulling Through the Past. My father and I have a pretty decent collection of vintage pulling photos. I used to just bring them on here and talk about them, and then I realized I don't know the stories nearly as well as the drivers could. So my featured photo this evening, I'm going to guess, you tell me if I'm correct. I think this is the Missouri State Fair 1985. Would you say I'm somewhere in the ballpark?
I think it is, and I think that is Linda sitting on the tractor.
And is Linda your wife, I'm assuming?
Yes, it is.
So just talk to us about this. To me, this is kind of the glory days of some of these light and even some of the heavier mods. Tell us about the old triple engine mod you've got here.
Well, I built that in the fall and winter of '84 and ran it in '85. It first came out probably, I'm not sure when the first pull was. Maybe in Greeley, Colorado in the spring.
So not only is this, a vintage pulling photo, this is this tractor's first year out. If we're both thinking that this is 1985, which is what I think the watermark on the back of the picture has it stamped at, this is your first year driving this tractor. Is that correct?
Right. It is. I, of course, had twins before that, and that was the first year. So I had, and started out a little bit behind because I started with I think our points carried over from maybe the California season, which I had a twin engine. And during the '85 season, my main competitor as far as the points went was Sonny Owens. And he had a pretty good head start on us. So had to work hard all summer to catch up.
So you're talking about when you pulled points in California, was that USHRA, TNT? What association would you have been chasing points with back then in that area?
All that we ever pulled with was NTPA.
NTPA. And so they had pulls and they had a series in California back in the day then.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We pulled out there in, I think, 80 and 81 and 2 and maybe 83 and maybe 84.
Was the tractor that you pulled out there, and the folks in our production room, they're pulling up, I think they're pulling some off of your Facebook here, was the twin engine mod and the triple engine mod, were they the same mod with just an additional power plant on it, or did you revamp everything for 85?
No, that was a completely new tractor in '85. It had a heavier differential and similar transmission. That's what was in the other, but same engines except one more. And then, of course, I had to build a gearbox, and the planetaries in the 5,000-pound twin engine tractor were not strong enough. Because I broke them once with the twin. They were 930 cats, So I wanted to build a tractor that would run into 5 with the 950 cat planetaries, and so I built magnesium planetaries for the 950 cat planetaries, and then built that tractor out of that made the 5, and then was able to pull a 7 and 9 with it.
Where was it most happy? Which of those weight classes did you and it, have your most success in?
Oh, I don't know. It was the national point champion in the 5,000-pound class, and it was a national point champion in the 7,000-pound class. So just depending on where we drew in the class,
Sure.
but did pretty good mostly with it.
So it was happy in both those classes. When did you grab those points championships? What years do you remember?
Those two were in '85.
So you won 2 points championships in 2 different weight classes in the same year. And not only that, it was the year that the tractor came out.
Yes, that's correct.
So 85 was a pretty big year for you then. So let's go all the way back to that picture that we had on here. I'll have production put that Missouri State Fair photo up there. Pulling at the state fair, was that where in the season would this have fallen? Because I don't know that you guys would have pulled. I'm wondering if you didn't get rained out in all this mud and this muck. Was this right in the heart of the season, or beginning or end, or where was it?
I think it's toward the end. I think middle to the end of August, somewhere around there, I think. And it did rain down there. There was mud all over, and yeah, it was kind of messy. I don't even remember how we did it. I don't think we won, but I don't remember. I remember it was muddy, and you
Sure.
can see the picture too.
Yep. In 85, running the 5 and the 7, who would have been some other pullers or some other vehicles that you would have been, in a dogfight with? Who else was gunning for that points championships in those classes?
Well, we just ran Grand National is mostly what we ran, and Bruce Hutcherson and Tim Engler was in there, and Banners were in there in the 7 and 9, not the 5. And I don't remember all of them. There was a pretty big class in the 5,000-pound class, in Ohio. The Miller brothers were in there, and I don't remember everybody.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot of good iron. When I was a young kid, my dad had a tape recorded VHS tape of Fort Recovery in like 1987 or something like that, and it was like the 7,000-pound mod class. And I can remember, other kids would go home and watch Michael Jordan or whatever. I watched that tape until the thing completely ran out, and watching John Heilman and watching Tim Engler, like you referred to. There was a lot of really, really good pullers in that time period. So 85, it comes out. It has a ton of success. Walk us through the next couple of years with it. How did the Nemisis do? 85, 6, 7, 8, 9, 90. What happened from there?
Well, I ran it in 85, and then in the spring of 86, I put on one new engine and put on probably redid the engines, and I think I put on some new blowers and Leo, which I was doing motors for his 2-wheel drive, he called me and said he needs he wants another vehicle for his trailer, because his trailer would haul 2 vehicles. So he's looking for maybe a 4-wheel drive to haul with it. And I said, well, you wait a year and I'll sell you this tractor and you can take it. And he talked me into selling it to him then. So I only ran that tractor 1 year.
So you're talking about Leo K?
Yes.
And is that the tractor that he called, was that the driller?
Yes.
So this tractor right here is, because people remember the driller quite a bit. So this went on to be the driller.
Yes, he run it 1 year in 1986 like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he brought it back out here to our place, and I rebuilt the whole tractor and made a 5-engine tractor out of it. And then he ran it in 87, and then I think sold it at the end of 87.
That is really interesting. I'm learning a lot about this. Chris Kilbarger's got a fun question. You can tell that he knows his vintage pulling. Aries over Rodek. Tell us about your power plants on there and why you went with the Aries on there.
Well, I started out with Chevy, of course, and then I put the Rodek blocks in, I think in 81 and maybe 80. I think I had Rodek in 80 and 81, and then I put the Arius in 82, and then stayed with them the duration.
So you kept them all the way through. When you built you say it was a 4 or 5 engine mod when you built the bigger one. Was it called the Nemisis as well, or did you change the name on that one?
I only had 3 engines.
Oh, okay.
When Leo bought it, he changed the name of it to the Driller
Mm-hmm.
and ran it in 1986 with 3 engines. And then I rebuilt it, built a whole new tractor actually with the same differential and same engines, but whole new frame. And I told him, this is a pretty nice tractor, Leo, that 3-engine. And
Mm-hmm.
it was. It was nice a tractor as some of these now. And I said, somebody would buy that tractor. And he said, no, the heck with them. He said, kind of like that. He said, they can build their own damn tractor. He said, cut it up and build a new one. So that's what I did. And that was in the fall of 86.
So how many more years, walk us through, do you still pull, or are you involved in the world of pulling at this point?
No, I haven't pulled since I sold that tractor. And I did some engines and some stuff for guys for several years, but I'm not involved anymore.
We've got some fun video right here. I think this might be in Houston.
No, Indy Super Pull.
This is in Indy. Okay. Running the twin engine setup. Let's take a look at this really quick, and then you can kind of tell us about it.
I think that's a triple.
What year would this have been?
That would have been in the spring. Oh, that is a twin. That's a 5, but that's the new tractor in the 5 in 80s. That'd be the 87 Super Bowl. Super Pull, excuse me.
It obviously looks like you took it out the gate right here. Do you kind of remember this run? What could you tell us about it?
A little bit. I think Tim and I got in the pull off, and I think he won the pull off in that. I think, yeah, that's the last tractor that I had, and the last time that I pulled it.
This right here was the last time that you drove it.
Well, it was there with the triple too.
Mm-hmm. But this was the last pull that you attended with this tractor.
Right.
That's interesting. That's really, really neat. What was it like? People talk about the Indy Super Pull. They say if they could bring back only one tractor pull from days gone by, it would be the Indy Super Pull. Tell us about what it just meant to pull at an event like that.
Well, at that time, of course, I was always an NTPA guy.
Mm-hmm.
We had member states and different regions, so many competitors from each region would get to compete, and it was a true size of like the national pulling. There was guys would come from California and and New Hampshire and all from the South. And so that was kind of before the promoted events took over.
I understand. So this is Tim going down the track right here, and you said that each of you guys made the pull off, and if you remember right, that he ended up winning in this one. Is he someone you would go back and forth with quite a bit? You know, for every time you made the pull off, would he beat you once and then you'd beat him the next time? Was it pretty even?
In '85, we pulled against each other some, but it don't seem like every place. But I don't remember a lot. I didn't win the 7 lot, but I think I won the 7 at Fort Recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tim and I split the 5 at Bowling Green. I think we'd run, back then when we pulled, you had to pull at least twice to win a Grand National pull, and quite often 3 times. And like if you pulled late in the class and pulled it out, and then you had to get in the pull off, and if you pulled it out again and somebody else did, that was too hot for the engines to pull right again. So once in a while, it just didn't make sense to pull again. So I think that time that happened, and so we split that win. But yeah, Bowling Green was always a good pull for us. We had a lot of fans back there, and always did pretty good. I think I won the 5 at Bowling Green 3 times, maybe something like that. Won 12 there once with the twin.
Yeah, walking away with wins at Bowling Green is not an easy feat to do. There's a lot of pullers that go their whole career wanting to do something like that. Would you say Bowling Green would be some of the more meaningful wins for you in your career? Or do you have some that kind of stand out as like favorite wins for you?
I think Bowling Green is probably our favorite event of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed like we identified with the fans a little more there. We're working people, and a lot of working people around Ohio, and they always, I guess, maybe felt sorry for us being back there that far away from home. And the first time we went, we won the 12 Unlimited there. Got in like a double pull off with Art. And then I don't think I won again until like '83 when I built the 5,000 pound tractor, the first one. But I think we get second and third in the classes with our twin, So we always did pretty good at Bowling Green.
What inspired you to get into tractor pulling? Was this something that you were just a part of your whole life, or did you go and watch one? What got you into all this that led to all this success?
I never went to one till 1972. And a local guy here in our little town told me about it. They was having one down here to Abilene. And he said, you ought to go down and watch that. I was always kind of a hot rod guy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I did, and so that's how it started.
So you went and watched one, and then you built one your own, as soon as you got the chance?
Yeah, I built one, and then like we decided we put on a pull right here in the hometown, like in 2 weeks. So I built one and got a Mercury engine and transmission out of a junkyard and put it in an F20 and pulled in 2 weeks. So then I guess the rest is history after that.
You make it sound so very simple. You're on here talking about just your wins at Bowling Green and grabbing those championships in '85. It's really neat to be able to experience this history and learn from you and talk to you about it. Do you miss it? do you wish you could go back and do it all over again?
I don't miss it too much. No, it's pretty hard. We live here in the middle of Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
So, and most of the pulls are in Indiana and Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some in Wisconsin. Of course, well, in 1980, then there was some in Oklahoma and some in Missouri, but most of them are quite a ways from here. Then
Sure.
back at that time when we first started pulling, in it from like the mid 70s on, there was a region here. There's regions for everywhere
Mm-hmm.
in the United States, and we also pulled in the regional events, which I think our region here was Colorado and Nebraska, and maybe Oklahoma, and Missouri I think was in Region 3. We was in Region 5 at that time, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's regional events as well. So yeah, just uh, quite a bit of running.
Sure. Yep. You're living out there. Where in Kansas are you guys at?
We're about 170 miles west of Kansas City.
Okay, so out there just in the heart of it in central Kansas. Yeah, there's that does put you away from the heart of some of it. Here production's pulling up. You've got the triples on it now, pulling in the 7,000-pound class. Looks like that same Indy Super Pull. Let's take a look at this one. You can tell us what you think of this pass.
Well, I think they had trouble getting this class started there, if I remember right.
Looks like she wanted to drift off to the right pretty hard. You might have had to get on that left brake a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if that might have been the 9. I think that's a 9.
Okay. So really weighted up getting into that class then. Now I was doing a little research and I think I stumbled across, did you pull indoors down in Texas as well?
With the twin engine tractor, I pulled indoors at it's at a farm show at Fort Worth.
Okay.
Is all. That was an NTPA sanctioned event, and that was probably 80, maybe 80 or 81, something like that.
You can see on this replay playing in the video back here to bring it back to the Indy Super Pull, and they said it was the 9,200-pound class where it went left to right on you, and it looks like we lost a front left wheel up there. So things got a little dicey, a little interesting there in the heavy class
Yeah,
for you.
got a little crooked there, evidently.
Got a little crooked. What do you do for day to day? What's your background? Are we into farming? Are we into mechanicking? What's Ronnie's day in, day out?
We're mostly retired. We have Linda and I have what was my parents' farm and my granddad's farm, and we kind of take care of that. And then I still have a shop and the stuff for our business, but I don't work there too much. So I'm kind of the groundskeeper around here and keep stuff running. And like right now, we're getting into lawn mowing hot and heavy.
Oh, okay.
Linda does all the lawn mowing.
She's the lawn mowing. So one question we had earlier was what scratches the horsepower itch? Is the lawn mowers, is that as much horsepower as we get out there now, or do you still make it out to hot rod tracks of one kind or another from time to time?
No, I don't. When we did it pretty hard. And when you compete like we did back then, it's almost consumes your life.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not working on it, you're thinking about it. And people that have done that will know that. And
Mm-hmm.
after a while of that, I don't know. I guess and like when we sold our tractor, our daughter was starting high school, and she was pretty good athletically, and she was going to be involved in that. And if I was going to continue to pull, I was probably going to have to pull in the wintertime, and I didn't want to do that. And so.
Yep. Understandable. Well,
No,
Ronnie, I appreciate you taking the time to come on here and tell me the backstory of this tractor. That photo is going to be all special to me now. I did not realize, that was right in the middle of a 2 points championship season, something that very few pullers have been able to accomplish, something that does not just happen. So this is one that I'm going to definitely put kind of in my treasure banks a little bit. But really fun chatting with you. Really neat folks out there, everybody watching. We still have a huge crowd out there watching tonight. You're talking to someone who knows his pulling when you're just casually talking about Art and Tim, and you've got a first name basis with these legends in the world of truck and tractor pulling. Multiple time Bowling Green winner, 1985 5 and 7,000 pound modified NTPA champion, Ronnie Reed. Anybody that you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to before I let you go this evening?
If there's any of the old promoters on, thanks to them, we enjoyed Bowling Green and Toma, and back we used to pull at Elkhorn once in a while when they had it, and a lot of other places, the state fair, Indiana State Fair and Ohio State Fair. We won the Ohio State Fair, I don't know, several times, and Indiana State Fair. We had a pretty good run.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That's been fun to learn about. Thank you for telling us about it. Thank you for pulling. Thank you for building that and giving that to the fans. And we're going to try to keep this vintage pulling and keep this history alive. Have an excellent night, and we'll be in touch, sir. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you much. Ronnie Reed, learning a lot, folks. That was cool. I knew that this was a competitive tractor. I didn't know it was that competitive. Just casually sitting there. Yeah, Tim, Art, we know who these folks are. That's really cool. 5,000, 7,000 pound 1985 NTPA Grand National Champion. Hey, guys, hope you've had half as much fun as I have tonight. We're coming in really quickly. We're running a floating finish on 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock is supposed to be our red flag on there, but we're floating past that just a little bit. What a cool show that was. Ronnie Reed in the Nemisis just casually winning championships with an awesome tractor. Went on to become the driller driven by Leo K. Then, of course, we had Danny Schmucker, Carlton Cope, 2 of our top 5 peer voted drivers in the 10,000 pound pro stock class. Mike Gerlach, Saturday night Pullers Championship winner from last year. He's going back to the Pullers Championship, trying to defend that 4-1 title. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Idle from Beer Money Pulling Team, thanks you so much for watching. We'll be back again next Monday night, 7:30. Let's grow pulling.